Finance departments fulfill a very important role in business. Preparing final accounts, producing accounting information for managers, forecasting cash flows. Finance is money. We all need money to purchase the goods and services we require, everyday goods, like food, but also more expensive items such as a house or car. Expansion of an existing business. Additional working capital. Internal finance. The most common examples of internal finance are as follows. Retained profit. This is profit kept in the business after the owners have taken their share of the profits. It has the following advantages. Retained profit does not have to be repaid. Unlike, for example, a loan, there is no interest to pay. The capital is raised from within the business. A new business will not have any retained profits. Many small firms' profits might be too low to finance the expansion needed. State of existing assets. Existing assets that can't be sold are those items of value which are no longer required by the business. For example, redundant buildings or surplus equipment. This makes better use of the capital tied up in the business. It does not increase the debts of the business. However, it may take some time to sell these assets, and the amount raised is never certain until the asset is sold. Sale of inventories. To reduce inventory levels. This reduces the opportunity cost and storage cost of high inventory levels. However, it must be done carefully to avoid disappointing customers if not enough goods are kept as inventory. Owner's savings. A sole trader or members of a partnership can put more of their savings into their unincorporated businesses. It should be available to the firm quickly. No interest is paid. However, savings may be too low. It increases the risk taken by the owners as they have unlimited liability. External finance. Issue of shares. This source of finance is only possible for limited companies. This is a permanent source of capital which would not have to be repaid to shareholders. No interest has to be paid. However, dividends are paid after tax, whereas interest on loans is paid before taxes. Dividends will be expected by the shareholders. Bank loans. A bank loan is a sum of money obtained from a bank which must be repaid and on which interest is payable. These are usually quick to arrange. They can be for varying lengths of time. However, a bank loan will have to be repaid eventually and interest must be paid. Setting debentures. These are long-term loan certificates issued by limited companies. Debentures can be used to raise very long-term finance, for example, 25 years. However, as with loans, these must be repaid and interest must be paid. Factoring of debts. Car debtor is a customer who owes a business money for goods bought. Debt factors are specialist agencies that buy the claims on debtors of businesses for immediate cash. Immediate cash is made available to the business. The risk of collecting the debt becomes the factors and not the business. However, the business does not receive 100% of the value of its debts. Microfinance. In many low-income developing countries, traditional commercial banks have been very unwilling to lend to poor people, even if they wanted the finance to set up an enterprise. Banks did not lend because the size of the loans required by poor customers, perhaps a few dollars, meant that the bank could not make a profit from the loans. Crowdfunding can be a fast way to raise substantial sums, often used by entrepreneurs when other traditional sources are not available. However, crowdfunding platforms may reject an entrepreneur's proposal if it is not well thought out. If the total amount required is not raised, the finance that has been promised will have to be repaid. Overdrafts. These are arranged by a bank. Interest will be paid only on the amount overdrawn. Overdrafts can be cheaper than short-term loans. However, interest rates are variable. Unlike most loans which have fixed interest rates, the bank can ask for the overdraft to be repaid at very short notice. Trade credit. Better cash position. This is when a business delays paying its suppliers, which leaves the business in a. It is almost an interest-free loan to the business for the length of time that payment is delayed for.